Welcome back everyone. So it's been quite some time we haven't been working with cabbage, and it so happened, look at this, I've got one savoy cabbage ready and just picked from the garden. It looks beautiful, and it's time to make a stuffed cabbage recipe. So we've seen before how to braise a cabbage. This time we're going to be doing a stuffed cabbage. A stuffed cabbage can be done in two things. It's the complex way. We're going to really try to fill the whole cabbage and you serve it as a whole thing. And in this video, we're going to do the easy kind of way, which is the Provencale style stuffed cabbage, where we're just going to be using the leaves and fill them with a specific stuffing and with meat and cabbage and then braise it in stock. So quite simple, but very tasty. Let's go. Now, obviously for this recipe, the success is going to lie on this, the cabbage. So you need a good quality Savoy cabbage. You have to use a Savoy cabbage, yes. You can't do this with a white cabbage or anything like this because you really need these kinds of leaves like this, and that we're going to fill. For the rest, usual stuff, you'll find everything in the video description. I'd like to zoom on these. These are the special stuff we're going to be using today, juniper berries. I really love them at the moment. And the mixture of meat, bacon, and this is what's called the chair à saucisse, which is the sausage stuffing, the French style. It's a mix of pork belly and lean pork, 100% pork, salt and pepper. That's it. I'll put the little recipe for this element as well on the recipe, not a problem at all. And then let's get started with this, how we're going to prepare the cabbage. All right, so how do we work with that Savoy cabbage? For the recipe, there's two elements that we need. First, we need some of the leaves, and that you see here. They're going to roll and put the stuffing in, and that's what we're going to braise. We're also going to use the heart of the cabbage to actually make that stuffing mixture. Okay, so the first thing we need to do here is to go around the cabbage, and you got some really ugly leaves. You see, it's been eaten by all the bugs and things in the garden. So you can use a knife or a pair of scissors. And we're going to first discard, if you have chicken or anything like this, as they love that, discard the ugly leaves, okay, and kind of prep up the cabbage. So here we are. We got the good looking part of the cabbage. And now, I'm going to have to also chop this and chop the bit. What we're going to do here is to detach the good looking leaves. So you see these big kind of things here. So very gently, so you see where the leaf is. We're going to make a cut like this, it cracks, and try to detach these leaves like this. Huh? So the leaves are pretty big, and that's what we're going to be using. Okay, so you're going to go around the cabbage, and we're going to go as far as we can in terms of getting some leaves. So once you go deep enough, it really starts to be white and yellow, and you're left what we like to call the heart of the cabbage. Now this is something we're going to trim, we're going to chop, and we're going to be using that and cook it with the meat to make the stuffing. And then we're going to use the leaf on the side to roll the stuffing in. All right, so this is how it looks like. On one hand, you've got the leaves, and on the other, you've got the heart. So you're going to start first by working with the leaves, and we're going to blanch them. Let me show you how that's done. So blanching, or what is going to be, we're going to put these in salty boiling water, the leaves, for 5 to 10 minutes. It depends on. Some people like them to cook them more before. I don't like to overdo it, but the most important is this. This is called a côte. In like the cutlets or what it's called. It's the hard bits of the leaves that you don't want because they're very tough. So most of the time, what you're trying to do is to cut these off. So you're going to take a knife and you kind of go along like this, and you're just going to cut your leaf so you get the good bit. We've seen this before in another video when we did the braised cabbage. Okay, and I'm discarding the hard bits, so that's not going into the water, and we're keeping just these. So you keep that and you get rid of that. Now for the blanching, the recipe was saving at least 5 to 10 minutes, and I've tried, and that was a bit long. So what I recommend, water with salt, 2 tablespoons of salt at least, and I think just 1 or 2 minutes into the boiling water is enough. I'm going to take them out and plunge them in a bath of cold water. I'm all done. So these are the blanched leaves, and 2 minutes was spot on, the time you need, and they're beautiful, nice color. And now it's time to work with this. Okay, we're going to chop it up. Now the heart of the cabbage, you know, there's no rule. You do whatever you want. What we want is to mince the whole thing. Okay, so like any cabbage, you're going to remove the hard bit on here, and then we're just going to use this outer leaf. That's it. So as you can see, there's not much left. And in a nutshell, what do we mean when we say the heart of the cabbage? It's basically the soft bits. Anything too hard, we don't really want it. And once it's here, what you need to do, and you can chop it any way you want, but really thinly kind of slice like this. So I've used 300 grams of shredded cabbage heart. What's happening with the offcuts? All of these, you're gonna have plenty of those. All the stuff here, don't throw it away. You're gonna clean this, you're gonna blanch this. That is perfect for cabbage soup. You find a link in the video description for the cabbage soup. So now we've got all the elements. We've got the shredded cabbage, we've got the leaves. We can start to work with the stuffing. So I've got 2 tablespoons of olive oil, that cast iron pan, and we're gonna start by frying the onion with the meats. As you know, onions, they take a long time to cook. That's why I'm starting with them. So same thing here, I'm gonna spend a good 10 minutes to start to pre-cook these. Once the onions are done, and we're gonna start to cook this, well, the meat, the pork, on high heat. So very high heat, and we're gonna start to brown that pork in here. You want a little bit of coloring in there. After a few minutes, you see there's a little bit of coloring in here. I'm gonna add about half the bacon. And I'm gonna start mixing everything together. The onions, the pork, and the bacon. A minute or so after, I'm gonna add about 4 juniper berries in here and some branches of thyme. And of course, what's the missing element in here is the cabbage. I'm gonna go in batches. So first half of it, see how we go. Mix it in, let it melt, let it reduce, and then put some more. Perfect, so as you can see it's reduced. I'm gonna put all the rest. I'm gonna put this on medium heat, and I'm gonna cook this for a good 10 minutes, because we really want to cook that cabbage in here. Okay, well, this part, cook it before we make the little cabbage rolls, let's call them like that. Now, one of the things that I like to do, of course, first you start with a bit more salt. It's already salty, so be careful. Don't put too much salt. You can go heavy on the pepper if you like. But what I like to do, some people leave it like this. I like to add 50 ml of chicken stock in there. So we get some nice moisture in here to really help the cabbage to really cook properly. And that's gonna really mix with the taste of the meat and everything. It all comes together. I like to add a bit of stock in my stuffing. Okay, done. So if you add the stock, you can add another 5, so in total 15 minutes. What we're after is this. You don't want any ponds of stock or juices that is falling off. You see it starts to caramelize barely. That's where you need to stop. I'm going to stop this, and I'm going to put this in a big large bowl because it has to be kind of cold when we're going to make the parcels. And now for the parcel. Now usually you make it the easy way. You put some stuffing, you roll it, you use like a toothpick, you plant it and you're done. But I don't have anything, so I'm gonna have to use a piece of string. But all it is, you take some of that stuffing, so this is why it needs to be dry, and you're gonna make, so the parcel, it's up to you, how big or small. You don't want them tiny. I don't like to have them too big, because when it's served, like, I like to have like bite-sized kind of parcel. I don't want to have like a massive, huge thing on a plate. Like, oh, I've got a massive piece of cabbage. Okay, and you know what? I've done it wrong here. I think put it on the side like that, something like this. It's a bit like the Vietnamese spring roll kind of thing. And I'm just gonna roll this, boom, and then I'm gonna use a string. So sorry for the mess here. I'm gonna use a string, put this under, maybe 1 or 2 strings, maybe just the one, and just tie it up like this and make a little parcel, little knot. All the parcels are done and they so look like spring rolls, like the Vietnamese spring rolls. Look at this. And this is just the beginning, people, because now we need to braise those. So you're gonna preheat your oven at 200 degrees and we're gonna jump back on the stove. So you must be thinking, oh my God, we're starting over now. We're almost done, but actually you need to prepare for the braising. So what do? A tablespoon of olive oil. I've got my cast iron pot, and I've got the celery, the carrot, the garlic, the bay leaf, some juniper berries, and some thyme. And for just a few minutes on a medium heat, and we're going to start to release the flavor of these little vegetables. Very nice. We're then going to add the rest of the bacon that we had before. Mix well, and same thing, another 1 or 2 minutes. So you may wonder, why is this called the Provencale way of making this stuffed cabbage? Because we've got the carrot, the celery, of course, the bay leaves, the thyme, and here what we're going to add is like some tomato puree, a bit of passata, to give this taste of Provence. When the tomato is there, and it's the same. So we're going to reduce the heat, and then we're going to place our little parcel on top of that mixture. Okay? What needs to do now, what needs to happen, you see, is to take all the cabbage rolls And we're going to place them. I've put my heat on very low, by the way. And I hope they're going to fit. And this is the advantage. You see that long kind of Le Creuset. It could be another brand. Huh? But the fact you get plenty of space, long ways like that. And look at the trick. Boom. One on the side here and one there. Perfecto. And to finish, what do we have? The stock, of course, that we're going to pour halfway through. So make sure you really drench the cabbage in the stock, but that the level of the stock goes halfway. So roughly you estimate, okay? And that's about it. To finish off, if you really want, you can add a little drizzle of olive oil, it's Provence style. And I'm gonna put a lid on this, turn that heat off, and we're gonna cook this in the oven at 200 degrees Celsius, about 400 degrees Fahrenheit, for about 1.5 to 2 hours. What we want is for the liquid to reduce and for the cabbage to slightly color. So we want a high heat and a long cooking time. So it cooks the cabbage, it infuses the meat inside, and you get some nice coloring. So, lid on, and we'll show the result after. Okay, so I took them out of the oven, I had a look, and they look very cabbagey to me. So let's be honest, in terms of look, once it's cooked, it loses all that kind of grain freshness, and that goes into the typical kind of cooked cabbage territory. So let's take one out, remove the string, and cut it open. Okay, so here it is. First thing first, I took some of that reduced stock. And the first thing I'm gonna do here is to add some on top of that to make it a bit more moist. And I'm gonna also try that. Okay, so that's a bit more moist, okay. All right, so first thing, that reduced stock with the tomato is intensely flavorsome. That's the first thing I would say. Let's zoom in and cut a piece of that. Right, so we've got the taste for sure. That tastes beautiful. Visually, though, it is hard to distinguish what on earth am I eating here. When you look at this, it's like, is this a vegetable or, you know, so, okay. So let me try to do that. So if you look on the side, maybe we get a better look. I can see the stuffing in there. So we get a bit of cabbage. It looks a bit better, but it does fall apart. You know, it did not hold too well, too late. Maybe the cabbage was a bit thin. And it looks a bit hard to eat as well. Like it's all over the place, but let me try that. Okay, there's a good distribution of the cabbage and the filling, and I like that. It's not just like you only taste the meat or the cabbage. Not too salty. And you've got the tomato in the background. So what we've got here really is that version of the cooked cabbage where it's moist, it's tasty, and you've got the meat inside, and the typical old-fashioned way of cooking it. So the cabbage is absolutely cooked, it's tender. You know, it's not crunchy at all, it melts in the mouth. But you do lose a little bit in the visual aspect of things. So we're done with the video. So who is the cabbage roll for? What kind of occasion do you need to make this? This is really a comfort food type of dish. I can see this in a really cold winter night with the family on a Sunday for a special occasion, because it's not about the look. Let's face it, it's not gonna wow your friends that never seen something with the look of the cabbage, but it is the taste, you know, that moist tomato, so the combination of flavor with the pork, the stuffing. And it's really juicy. You pair this with some rice or with some potatoes, and honestly, it is absolutely beautiful. So absolutely to reserve for these cold nights in winter. But that's it for me. I will leave you with this picture on the screen. If you have any question, use the comment section as always. And don't forget, you can follow us on Facebook. You can join Instagram and share your pictures with the hashtag MyFrenchDish. And if you want to learn more about the intricacy of French cooking, remember we got the online culinary schools with our basic beginner course. They're going to teach you all the little bits. As for me, I will see you all next time for another French cooking video. Take care all. Bye bye.